Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. Got Nate Ebner on today. Nate is a 10-year NFL vet, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, played a couple years with the Giants as well. Nate is also an Olympian for the Rugby Sevens, but he is a good friend of mine and just a mental monster, one of my favorite humans to talk mental skills, life, and performance with. And then on this podcast, we get into pursuing passion, particularly after sport, but the depth and discipline and work that does take to find new passion, as well as controlling your perspective on life, how to insert gratitude, and how to attack life in general. And then that bleeds into Nate's year, where he faced a bunch of adversity, surgeries and setbacks and deals and contracts and all these things that bleed into a great conversation. So hope you enjoy. Got our first repeat athlete on here today. Doc's the only other guy that's been on here more than once, but had Nate on a year ago. But Nate Ebner, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Easy, dude.
It always feels like home here.
Spend enough time over here. But obviously I'm always excited to talk to you, especially mental skills and all those kind of things. But obviously last year has been a roller coaster for you too. So we'll get into that eventually. But you know the drill. Like, where are you curious? Where are you learning right now?
Well, we're gonna get into the last year has been a grind for me. So I've really had to. I've had to learn about myself. Not just with football and that identity, but also, not having surgeries and being hurt and stuff like that. Like not being a physical human, and that was hard for me more than, identifying as an athlete or something like that. I totally realized that I identify as a physical person, like that likes to be on their feet and using their hands and being active and just tired at night because I wore myself out, And when I'm not able to do that for really extended periods of time, I'm like, find out about myself. What do I like to do when I can't run around, right? And that's been a learning process. I mean, obviously I like to play the piano, but it's tough to sit at the piano with my leg locked out, right? So that's kind of been a no-go. But, we'll get into this, but, transitioning out of football, it's like, what's next type of deal. There's obviously that whole world. But there's some things that I've, personal projects that I'm starting to get into, and, that's kind of what I'm curious about, potentially starting a new company and, if there's a product involved. I'm not going to get super into it. If there's product involved, but like the R&D involved in that, the relationships of you would build with not only creators, but manufacturers and, partners along the way that can help with the product itself. Like those things I am very curious about. And, that's kind of been something that's grabbed my attention a lot. But outside of that, it's really finding the person, that's career driven type stuff that keeps you busy. But then there's like the life, stuff. And like we talked about last time, I could sit and play the piano forever. But when I couldn't even do that, it's like, where does your mind go? What do you focus on? And, for me, I'm already lining up the projects at the house that I could do once I'm like capable of moving properly. Like, that's kind of where I spend my focus. But, I think that's where I'm curious right now, is learning about the non-physical side to Nate Ebner. What lights the same fire under you?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too, because like the physical side of it's such an outlet, and like I see it in a lot of people where like their habits have fallen very heavily on the career-driven side of their life, and they want to make X amount of money, and they want to get here by then, and like they have all these like bookmarks or these goals set that like basically take away from their physical side, or they end up making the excuses that they don't have time to do the physical part. But like obviously even like when you were like even post-surgery, you're still doing drywall and all those like insulation and everything at your house, weren't you?
Well, it was post-scope surgery. Scopes are nothing.
I got you.
Like,
No, but that's an interesting thing, because like
I can't help it though. It's like I wanna be on my feet. Like it just I don't feel alive unless I'm moving, and that's been hard to like cope with. You know, you just like hope the time goes by faster, that you heal and you can move on. But it's like, well, I need to be in this moment right now. What am I doing to, you know, light that fire? I think that's the biggest thing, is the passion without the physical side of it.
Yeah, and that's like, again, after sport, that's tough because you got to like try things and like figure out if they're for you or not. So like that's the process now. Like a new variable is time. Like you're gonna have to spend time being curious about R&D or whatever relationship you're working on. But like the awareness to like know that like you are developing specifically that side, because you're actually truly restricted in the physical capacity outside of your upper body for the most part, which you've been solving that problem anyways, lifting upper body and that kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. But
it's been too hard to walk around from side to side to add the weights.
Yeah.
Give my shoulders a break, I guess.
Yeah, but that's like a biological restriction. Like your body is in a state where it can't do X. So like now, like it's a very complex system. Like life in general, and like training, everything's a complex system. So if you like every training per se, like on paper, like should yield X result, but really like I'm kind of down this rabbit hole now where when you install systems and when you look at a system, like I think the saying is like the most important part of a system is the one that's the most limiting. So right now, the most limiting is probably your physical knee and those kind of things. And then like in the world where I want this conversation to go to, like, because I've been reading all these special forces books and these mindset training books where basically mental toughness and grind and endurance and things like that can become limiting to a factor. Or like in reference to our current conversation, if somebody, not you, but like somebody goes very hard in the business world and doesn't leave space for these other parts of the system, actually becomes detrimental. It's like, it's like basically, there's a bunch of.
Well, to that point, I feel like, you know, my limiting side is when you have to sit me in front of a computer and I have no problem being productive in that sense, as long as I know I'm working towards something. But it's like when you know your time has to be spent sitting, like, you know, what like how can you be the most productive? And also the passion, like that's a huge thing for me. And I think, you know, when we talk about the whole system, I think about, you know, what if I don't recover from these surgeries to the point where I can't really live a physical lifestyle?
Yeah.
What if, you know, I get 10, 20 years from now and I'm not in a place where I can be hiking and doing stuff all the time? Like, you know, what is my life without physical activity? There needs to be one.
Yeah.
And that is something that I'm learning about my own system as a limiting thing. I need to broaden that, right? Because like I'm not limited by physical activity when I'm healthy, right? Like everything revolves around it. So I'm learning this other side of me and like finding passion in stuff that keep, you know, while my heart rate's under 70 beats a minute or whatever, right? So that's been I don't want to say fun, but it's been, you know, and it's not difficult, but it's just like the discipline to dive into outlets, you know, not just, you know, you enjoy working on this one thing, so all you do is work on this. Or, you know, like for instance, like a good example is like you like this video game, so you just play the video game when you can't move around. Or it's like, you know, having the discipline to dive into these things, whether it be books or like reading certain things, or, you know, the projects per se that we were talking about, or, you know, redoing like new education, like what do I, you know, what about going back to school, those types of things. Just the discipline to go into these other avenues, even though they don't seem to really interest me, and then see if I can dive into them enough to get something out of it, some type of interest.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you defining the passion? Like, because like everything, like everybody sucks when they start something new regardless.
I think you need to spend enough time with something to really understand it. Now, how long it takes a certain person to understand something is variable, but, you know, when I have people see rugby for the first time, they don't know what's going on. So it's like, I don't really like it. Well, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Why don't you like learn it a little bit? It's really easy.
Yeah.
And once you understand it, now look at it with a different understanding, a different perspective of what this game is and why there's beauty in it and why so many people around the world play it and love it. You look at it from a different viewpoint. And I think that comes with understanding. And I think you could say the same thing to foreigners about watching NFL football.
Yeah, guaranteed. Well, it's just like I didn't understand rugby till I played it, right. and like I'd watched it with you and Cody, and like you guys have explained what's going on and the lines and the flow and those kind of things, but I didn't understand till I played it, and I fell in love with it. Like it's a really cool sport, and so but like there's also like people don't like. It's really easy to criticize things and really easy to say no, and there's I
know nothing about this, so I'm gonna criticize it and say why I don't like it, even though I really don't know anything about it. It's
just fear. Like it's like so like I like the bit where it's like you don't fear what you don't know. You can't, like, you don't know it, so you can't be scared of it or you can't be intimidated by it. Like your fear of leaving the known, and that's just comfort. Like of course, it's like it's confirmation bias. Like so I'll keep learning the things that or playing the video game I like or watching the sport I like because it's going to just reinforce that I like this.
I know this is my comfort zone.
Yeah,
I understand it well. Yeah, I mean I think that same philosophy goes towards these avenues we're talking about. Whether it be like education in a certain field, medicine or philosophy or whatever. I mean, you have to have some type of genuine understanding to realize, is there a passion here or not? But if you don't, if you're just surface level understanding of things is as deep into it as you go, you're never going to really, you don't even deserve a real opinion on it. Right. And for me, it's like I that's where I'm at. I'm not in a place to really talk to you about where I'm passionate yet, but I'm in that stage of the self-discipline to dive into stuff I know nothing about and try to really learn about it. Because when you look at all the different jobs and stuff around the world, there's everything, right? I mean, there's a job for everything in the world, and the people that are really good at their jobs find passion in what they do, and there's a reason for it. And I try to find and relate myself to why someone would be passionate about it. Like, what did they find about this that drives them to be passionate about what they do? Whether it be an artist painting a mural or a lawyer reading through all of the things that they have to read through to get an understanding, but like, what is it that drives the passion for them to love that? Because there's people that love everything, right?
Yeah,
and
guaranteed.
There's a way to relate to it. So, long-winded, I'm just trying to work that discipline to dive in. I can't really speak to what has really captured me yet, because along with that journey of myself, there's life that you have to take care of stuff as well. That's kind of pulls at you too. So I will say, to finish that, the discipline for me has never been a hard thing. To wake up early, to push myself till my body can't take it. Anything physical, anything hard, that it's just like, I loved that challenge, right? It's like answer the call, like wake up and like, let's attack and dominate, in Schlegel's words. But, to find that same discipline towards things you don't have passion for that you're trying to find, that's a much harder discipline for me. And it makes me almost relate to those who aren't passionate about competing and aren't passionate about weightlifting and aren't, they just like football, for instance, but they aren't passionate about all these other things. Like football was a grind, no doubt. Did it for a long time, but I did it for a long time because I love to compete. I love the weight room. I love running. I love playing football. I love tackling people. Like, it's easy because I like those things, right? But if you were someone who, you like football, but you don't really like contact, you don't really like to work out, you don't like the meetings, like, you ain't gonna last long, because it's just, I can relate to that. It's like there's no passion there for you. Anything would be too hard.
Yeah.
After you do it long enough, if you just don't like it, right? So I've actually gained that perspective for people that don't have passion.
Yeah, but and so like now in like the world of like finding new passion, like you're still accepting the process.
Yeah,
Like
I
you're
have to.
you're accepting the discipline and like the hard work and the grind of a process without the like knowing that there's whatever fruit at the end of this path or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is being in the moment. I mean, we can come back to that. It's not about the end goal per se. When you're trying to find yourself, if you will,
Yeah.
It's about the journey. I mean, I felt like life is like that for me with everything. It's always been about the journey. So if I can maintain that attitude about other things, then I'll enjoy the process, and where it takes me is where it takes me. At the end of the day, you can't do things in life for the one moment at the end. Anything worth having is a long grinding process that is tiresome, and you have doubts and reservations, but you have to enjoy those growing moments in that process in between, or that gold medal or whatever, that shiny object at the end of the day
It's got a cliff behind it.
It's got to be so unfulfilling, right? I mean, I can speak to, one of the biggest things for me was the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of people, right? I mean, what an awesome end goal, the Super Bowl ring, and, no one can ever take that away, and, the Lombardi trophy, and that is an awesome moment, no doubt. I don't ever want to sound like it wasn't. It absolutely was like a very cool moment, and I never want to trade it in, but like, it's such a brief moment, right? Like, holding the trophy after the win, celebrating that like for a month, a year, whatever. It's a moment that the years of the grind to get myself to that point was the real journey that was enjoyable, because at the end of the day, I found out about myself, and I don't know, for me, finding out about what type of person you really are and like what you like about that grind, that was more rewarding, I guess, than saying we won the Super Bowl, because all you do is just say it, right? I mean,
yeah, it's on the resume now, and then
Right.
it's in like the memory bank. But yeah, I like that a lot, just because it gets played out like, oh, trust the process, love the process, and like that kind of thing. And like sometimes you're not gonna love the process. It's a grind. Like success is boring, discipline is boring, and those kind of things. But like that time involved is what eventually leads to these massive, we'll call them successful moments, but like it's not gonna carry you after, and then they can potentially motivate you before, but like at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to, are you living a life, and are you maximizing your potential each day to build up this person? And like, because I think growth is really like the essence of like quote unquote happiness, or because you're at peace in some essence of what you're doing. Like,
well, that's life.
yeah.
Not only happiness, but like you're living life as you're experiencing things, you're growing from experiences, and you're challenging yourself, and you're finding out who this person inside really is, and like how they answer the call when things get hard, how they respond to things that they don't like to do, or to setbacks. And you find out about yourself, and that is life in itself. Those brief moments of success it's just a moment. That's not, that's, what is that?
Yeah, and it's
a moment of happiness.
It can still mean something, like, and it will, and always will mean something. But
I'm saying on the scale,
yeah,
of like finding out about you, to me, finding out about this person inside through the journey that I went through, that's growth, that's life, that's living. If we don't ever challenge ourselves to learn about ourselves, like that, you're dormant.
No, I completely, I completely agree, because like if you really simplify the process, like you're gonna sit there. So I'm talking to a professional or like a priest or anything, like you're gonna sit there and tell me you understand God and faith and all religions, or you understand medicine and all these kind of things, but you don't know yourself. Like that's a massive like impingement to the ability to even be full-hearted into that, because like if you don't know the person that's looking at this information, or the person that's sharing religion to another person, like how, like you can't, like if you can't solve the problem yourself, you're not gonna be able to be the master of much else.
Absolutely. And you just identify as the work you do.
Yeah. And
not the person that does the work.
Not the person capable of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
That's what I always like, the idea of like I'm a person capable of generating wealth as opposed to a wealthy person. Like you can take all my shit away, you can take all my Super Bowls away, whatever it ends up being, but I'm still someone that's capable of doing all those things.
Right.
And like that's it. Like that's
exactly.
an identity.
That's
is your capability.
Right. Exactly.
And so like now like we should strive to be endlessly capable about things that we're passionate about. It's not like rocket surgery and trying to solve that like logic of like why I should be one, physically capable, mentally capable, career capable, relationship capable, whatever it ends up being. I like that view. And then like the other part of the process that like I'm trying to adopt myself and work on and things like that is like, well, one I hear it when you speak about discipline and those kind of things, like that's very important, meaningful part of, these stands are a little weird to move, but like that's a very important part of the process that people like is the harder part of the process, but like how you
I think at the end of the day it comes down to where your like what your focus is. If your focus is the job and your focus is, the end goal, those types of things, then you're never going to find out about yourself. But if the job is just one of many different jobs and the end goal is one of many different successes, but this journey and this how I go about my life with the character that I uphold while I go through this journey and growing and that's your focus, then you're learning about yourself. Yeah,
and it's also like you're speaking about a high level of comfort with uncertainty, because like your trust in your process and who you are actually gives you a little more certainty, because whatever it is I'm learning, I'll eventually get to a point where I'm passionate or I'm not, and then I'll pick up another one.
There's the confidence, like you said, as being the type of person that's capable of doing all different types of things, but at the end of the day I know I'm a capable human being. And there's confidence in that, right? I mean, because if you're only good at one thing and then that thing's gone and now you've got to go into all this other stuff, but you're not really confident about your ability to do anything but that one thing, and you're not sure of yourself, that's got to be unsettling.
Then your confidence is gone.
As hell, yeah.
Yeah, and like you accept the grace that like some confidence leaves when you try something new, and like that's just that's part of the process too. But like I always like the capability conversation, because like I speak on it in scale. Like I've said it on here a few times before, where I want to be capable of violence and peace. But like violence is like good health, physical output, physical capability, and then like peace is like, so maybe this side of the spectrum's gone for a while. I can't fight, I can't compete, I can't lift, like we'll call it your situation.
Right.
But now like this other side, I can study, I can, again, I like breathe, I can control my state, I can meditate, I can do all these other things on the other side of the spectrum that will, because this isn't there, I can now at least control my state, or I can learn massively, and like my physical output still, like I'm still tangibly going somewhere.
You have two things that you brought up, and I don't want to change the subject.
No, that's right.
One of them is the peace thing.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. But the other one is just perspective. And for me, on the perspective note, on this, what we're talking about is, I physically can't do these things, right? But like, I think about how much worse it could be. Like I can use both hands and I can stand up and walk around and I can feed myself and I have no problem breathing, and you know what I mean? Like it could be a lot worse than I have trouble getting into this like, woe is me. I don't want to sound like that at all. I think it's just a recognition that the physical stuff is not there, but I think I also have the perspective that, this could be a lot worse. And, there's a lot of people that wish that while, I can't physically be active, they wish they had their hands so that they could type on the computer. They wish they had there's just so many different perspectives. Like I said, I could feed myself. Like there's people out there need someone to feed them every day. I mean, what would that be like? So I'm not going to sit here. I guess what I'm saying is feel sorry for myself for the situation that I'm in, because I'm in it. It's just, that's life. Right. Yeah. And it could always be worse. It could always be worse, and it could always be better. Right? Like it could always be better, obviously. Yeah. But it could always be worse. Don't forget that. And I think a lot of people just harp on, it could be better than this. It's like, take a moment to be grateful for what you do have. Yeah. And I am grateful for that. Yeah. I'm incapable physically right now, but I'm fine.
Yeah. But that'll bring you some peace in the chaos. Yeah.
But that allows a little more drive to push, to have the discipline to dive into these other avenues, because I am grateful for my health overall.
Yeah.
My ability to function as a normal person when it could be so much worse. There's so many people out there with so much harder circumstances than just me not being able to be physical for a few months or a year, whatever it is. It's it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't know. Do you want to go?
No, I love that just because it's incredibly practical and it's something you can do at the drop of a hat. Like, I'm feeling sorry for myself for X, Y, and Z. Like, let's shift my perspective. And I do that. I do that by journaling myself. Like, if I'm in a shit place, like, I just go and like, okay, like 10,000 feet, like, how bad is my situation really? Right. It's really not that bad. And then, but like, so like, if
I constantly do that. And I come back to my dad's situation and the perspective I have on life that I don't wish on anybody. But, the place that I was in, losing him the way that I lost him and losing someone who meant so much to me as much as he did, what that depth of that low point in my life was emotionally. The only way I could get myself out of that, which we talked about last time, my mom was a big part in pulling me out, but like, it was the wherewithal and self-awareness that it's like, you need to, feeling sorry about this is getting you nowhere. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And you shouldn't have to go through it and all this shit. Like, put that aside for a second and let's just stop feeling like, what can you control?
Yeah.
What can we do about it? And that perspective I have on life makes me very aware of when, I'm in situations that are like, you can't change it. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to let it emotionally affect me because it can't be changed. So I'm not going to let it, I'm just going to be in a bad mood. I'm going to portray that on everyone else. Like, it's unchangeable. What can I change? And, as soon as I catch any moments of self-pity or whatever you want to call it, I quiet that very quickly. Almost to a fault. In a way, it makes me almost, I think I'm understanding of true empathy for real tragedy and real things. Yeah. But to the normal day-to-day person who's mad that, they couldn't find a parking space closer, or, it's raining and the weather said it was going to be sunny today. And it just, like, I cannot relate to that. I just can't. I have no compassion for that. I have no empathy for that because, what are you doing? Yeah,
I always like the quote that you can tell the size of a person by the size of the things that disturb them. So if it truly is the weather, if it truly is a parking spot, right, whatever ends up being, like, that's like, those are very small things that'll shake your peace.
Right.
And so now you're always trying to scrape and claw for just a little bit of peace, and you're doing it to yourself.
It's just this constant battle of seeing life as like, what's negatively impacting me.
Yeah, what's happening to me.
It's the mindset that's just like, why are all, like, focusing your awareness on like, life happens. Shitty stuff happens to people every day. Like, you ain't special.
No.
He ain't picking you out just to bully you. Like, it's just life. Just focus your attention on controllable things and being grateful. If you just focus on those two things, just what can I control, and I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z, because we all have stuff to be grateful for. That's it. It's that simple. As soon as you catch yourself in this is bad for me, it's just like, what can I control? And I'm grateful that, I got all 4 tires on today. They didn't, I didn't pop one, or my legs work, so I can walk from the back of the parking lot even if I have to.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that switch in perspective. But I'm very aware of it because of what I've been through, and it takes that perspective. I don't, like I said, I don't wish that on anyone to have to learn that way, but I can say from my experience, it's as simple as those two things, having literally just finding something you're grateful for and what can I control in the situation. And that keeps you in a positive headspace.
Yeah. And like, that's Stoicism 101. So like this problem's had an answer for a long time, and like, it's very, but like, it's very simple, but it's significant. So like, how can I constantly, it's more about rechecking and having awareness and constantly harping on this to your, like in your own narrative.
Let's go to the peace thing.
Okay.
Because I always think about your quote with the, what is it? Capable of violence.
Yeah. If you're, so basically like you can't call yourself peaceful unless you're capable of great violence. If you're not capable of great violence, you're actually harmless. You're not peaceful.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. But then it made me think about like peace, right? Because, and I might ramble here, but like in a way, I feel like I'm a peaceful person. We've talked about that. Like I don't know necessarily what makes me happy. I don't allow a lot to make me sad. But when stuff starts to affect my peace, that's when I get upset, I guess. Angry, sad, whatever you want to call it. But there's a point where it's like, you want to stay in this peaceful place, but the extremes of life that stress you, that take you out of peace, those are the moments that make you grow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so from a personal standpoint, it's like where is that line, right? Because there's the physical stress. I'm causing like cold tub, right?
Yeah. So like I chop it up to like, it's like basically like intentional and unintentional growth. So like obviously like the deal with your dad, unintentional, like lifting, learning, those things, very intentional. So you get to choose when you like leave your peace sometimes, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But regardless, you need to try and get back to this peaceful state.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like I think peace is the goal anyways. Like the same as like you don't know what makes you happy. Like happiness is always going to be in flux, but it's also like a destination. So like if you constantly like basically like striving for happiness in and of itself an unhappy experience. So like because like now there's a gap. If I'm never not happy, there's stress to get there. It's just another goal.
Right.
And like that's not it. Like peace is the goal.
Right, absolutely. I combat myself with, peace is, and maybe I'm thinking of it in the physical sense, but even the emotional sense, like when you're angry or you're enthusiastic or you're energized, those are emotions that make you feel alive.
Yeah.
And I don't like to stay in those states because I am a peaceful person, but being in those states is what makes you a human being. Yeah. And if not, I'm just going to be a robot, right? So it's like there's a balance. Like the peace is the goal, but like to really understand peace, maybe like you need to have these far-reaching just experiences of emotion. Yeah. To know what peace is, I guess. I don't know.
You also need. Well, like I don't know either, but like I don't want to like if I am stagnant, I'm not growing. Like that same concept. If you're not growing, you're dying or whatever. But like I can be capable of peace, and like I'm still testing capability with the whatever you said, exhilaration or the tension or whatever, or the emotional, all those things. But like I still have to constantly test, like, can I be like, so basically like I'm going out in the woods in Montana here. Like I'm going to test my peace in some chaos. Yeah. And so like, it's still like, I'm still trying to bring peace there, but like I need to learn all this chaos in order to be peaceful or grow my ability to be peaceful, like in the current state. And like, that's the same as like learning and growing. And, but like that's where like life shouldn't be peaceful all the time either.
I will say that in a way to maintain my peace, I can almost be deflective of everything around me because I don't want it to be affected. Yeah. But then at what point am I just not living because I'm just, nothing can touch me, and I'm good at that. Yeah. But at the same time, the emotional states, like when we're just juiced in that room with a lot of energy and Zach is singing Celine Dion at the top of his lungs, like there's a lot of juice in that room. Those are great moments. Those are right. So like, that's a positive one that I'm letting affect my peace. But like, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is there's a point where there's peace, and then there's a point where I become so, I don't want to call it walled off, but in a way, I guess, I don't know how else to say it, that I don't allow anything to affect me. And then it's like, you're just
Yeah, there's
Are you living?
There's
right?
there's comfort and peace as well.
Right.
Like that is a state you're striving for too, which is but why like that's like the grace and the perspective you can always put like on any experiences that like I'm still a human that's going to experience every realm of emotion, and like that's why I always preach don't identify with emotions. Like don't identify with being depressed, like you're experiencing it. Don't identify with being happy, you're experiencing
absolutely.
it. So like so let's
Right.
experience life and keep it pushing.
The emotional states are what make you alive. I know I kind of already said that, but it's just like when we're juiced, I feel alive. When when you're in a breakup and you're sad, that's still pain.
That.
But that's a living experience. That makes you feel alive because you feel something. You know what I mean? When you lose someone tragically, like that pain it's not something you want to go through, but fuck, that makes you feel alive, right?
Yeah.
Feeling those emotions is important, I guess. I guess I'm saying there's a balance between peace and allowing, as long as you come back, I guess.
Yeah.
But those extreme emotional moments are what make you feel alive as well. So that was my thing on peace.
That's a savage perspective on peace, but dude, some of my biggest like moments where I felt alive have pain is definitely an indicator, and that's primal as fuck.
Right.
And then but even like the emotional pains and stuff, yes, like cold water. Like I remember jumping into specific cold bodies of water when I was traveling. I'm like, wow, like I literally said it in my head, I feel alive. Right. I want to remember this. I want to chase this.
Every nerve in your body is talking to you, and that's
but then like it's a funny stance on like physical, emotional, mental pain and those kind of things too, because I've gone down this route a little bit before, where because our body reacts like physiologically similarly to physical pain. When we get this emotional pain, like cortisol spikes, all these other things happen, but we struggle to pinpoint where we're hurting because obviously it's internal. It's in our prefrontal cortex, it's in our made up mind and that kind of stuff too. And like that's why some people get tattoos when they're going through traumas and emotions and things like that, because you can actually finger and point at the pain that's happening right now, and that's like a outlet.
You can almost go to people that have suicidal thoughts or want to harm themselves. It's just a way to at least feel right where it's coming from. I'm in pain, but I know where it's coming from. I mean,
but it's also like where are you pointing the finger at the pain? So like my stance on suicide, because this recon sniper told me, and he goes like, yeah, you're right. Like something does need to die, but it's not your body. It's your thoughts, your habits, whatever it ends up being. So like we need to constantly shift perspective. We need to same as you're saying with whatever it was, like gratitude. Like it's the same thing. Like if you're in the really dark times and that kind of thing, like obviously this is an extreme of a dark time, but like, okay, what am I grateful for, and like what's causing the pain?
I mean, I can specifically speak to when I lost my dad the way I did. Obviously all you think about is you lost your rock, you know, the way he got murdered like that, like just you constantly can harp on that. And what made me change my perspective was my mom telling me I need to live a life my dad would be proud of, and you know who the man he raised me to be, and all that stuff. But like once I really shifted my mindset and perspective about, I was so lucky to have a dad up to the age of 19, where I was a grown man at that point, and to have that type of a character and human being in my life, man, like how fucking lucky was I? Because you look at people who still have their parents their whole lives, and they're just shitty parents, and they never really know anything about them. They don't know who they are, and they don't spend time with them. And you see kids where their parents leave them at 13 when they need a man in their life. God, how lucky was I to have such a fucking awesome person just guide me through, you know, those developmental years. I mean, and then when I take that perspective, it just makes me so thankful.
Yeah, well, it's like all that can be like that's. I think it's dynamite, just in general. Just that you like your mom's a savage for saying that, and the moment she said it, that read his book if you don't understand this, what we're talking about. But the same concept, constantly, you should constantly question your perspective. Like so, saying we'll stay in the parent realm right now. Say you don't live in the same city as your parents, and right now you see them 4 times a year. So now, like, let's look at the perspective of that. Your parents are 55, 60. You're going to see them 4 times for the next 20 years. So you're going to see your parents 80 more times.
Yeah.
that's a perspective change. Somebody told me that it was a perspective change for me, because like now, like
it's limited.
It's ticking. Like it's ticking, and then you don't know what life is going to happen in there. So maybe you don't even have that.
You don't. Yeah.
So let's be aware of the moment, and like let's be all in on the moment when we're there.
There's that perspective too. I mean, I learned that way as well, as like that. You know, it can all change and be gone. So to hold grudges and, you know, be upset about little things is so silly, when people that are important and things that really matter in life can be gone, and life is so fragile. We have this false sense of security that tomorrow will come, and it's not. And the people that have unfortunately lived that, and like in my case, I know that that's not the case, and it makes you grateful.
It does, but that gratitude's compounding, because like you've been living like that for 13 years now, and like it helped make you part of the monster you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so anyways, like I think I always like reinforcing that, and it's also a massive reminder for me. Yeah. And then so I need to go see my parents tomorrow, which I am. But anyways,
what do you got on this sheet?
No, well, like obviously, like I do want to go through the year real quick, just because. So like you were actually technically the first podcast under the Chasing Edges name as well, because we recorded it months before I actually released all the deals and that kind of thing. So we kind of left off like right as you're about to go to Olympic training camp last year.
Shit, we did it then.
Yeah, so it was like, it ended up being.
So I popped your chair, or you popped mine?
You popped my cherry for Chasing Edges. I had like Tyron and J. Joe on for leaders these days.
We popped each other.
Yeah, we're popping cherries. We pop cherries.
We're popping each other. So when was that?
Right before, like you were like kind of getting ready to commit to go to Olympic training camp.
Oh, so I hadn't even left yet.
No, you hadn't left yet.
Oh man.
Yeah. So you don't gotta overhash it, but like it's been a crazy year for you, athletically.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where I'm combative with myself about indulging in.
Well, it's not indulging,
negative.
I'm asking for observation.
I don't have a lot of good things to say about the year. I had quad tendonitis in both knees after the season in 2020 that just didn't go away, and I didn't get a follow-up MRI after the season, and thought it was just tendonitis. And then I went out to go do the Olympics, and it just never went away. It was like, man, something's not right. And, we started to, I didn't even really get to practice yet. And I was training to get my cardio up, and, just doing like an up down and driving out off the line. I was just like, man, that just doesn't feel right. Hurts way too much. Shouldn't hurt like that. So I get an MRI, and they're like, yeah, your left quad tendon is torn almost in half, midway up. So I was like, well, I need to get that fixed, because it's not going to get better. So I get this quad tendon surgery, and I try to maintain going for the Olympics, but ultimately why I tore my quad tendon is because the cartilage underneath my kneecaps on both knees is just deteriorated over all the years of playing. And, physiologically, I'm trying to shift that pain somewhere else and do anything I can to avoid that pain in the joint. And it just went to my quad tendons. I have no other explanation for it, because there was no acute injury that just happened. It was like, I had this tendonitis and it wore it out, and I started to run again. It just didn't go away, and and the knees,
compensatory patterns.
The knees have already hurt for years to this point. It started to reach its breaking point. So I get the surgery. I do rehab. I'm going from downtown San Diego up to Carlsbad at 6 a.m. to do rehab, then to drive all the way down to Chula Vista to try to do rugby training all day, and then back. I mean, I did that for 2 months, and that was a grind. Just the amount of time in the car, and then the pain I was in, just because I got my quad tendon fixed, but that cartilage under the kneecap wasn't there. And then that surgery tightened the quad tendon a little bit, even just a little bit, which caused even more compression of the patella into the joint. And I didn't need any more compression. And it just made that, what I call patellofemoral pain, just even more intense, and I just couldn't do stuff. So I ended up having to back out of the Olympics. Again, to go back to our other conversation, 2016, just to have the health to be able to do that, I was grateful for. 2020, I went to go to the Olympics and I was healthy, but they canceled it because of COVID. So they pushed it to 2021. I get there, not healthy anymore. That's life. But it just makes me grateful for the times I was healthy to be able to do that. Then so I come back to Ohio to train because, the Olympics is on the, we're done with that. And I had already agreed to a contract after surgery. I'm trying to wonder if I should talk about it, but who cares?
We can cut it if you want.
It's already happened, and I'm not like pursuing a lawsuit, so it's just the truth. But we had already agreed to a contract after I had the quad tendon surgery on the left leg, and that contract was bound by me coming and passing a physical. And we get all the way up until the week before the season, and it was, I was lucky enough. I've been a veteran long enough. They didn't really care to see me in training camp, so I could just work on rehabbing. And I got it right. And the trainer, the PT at Ohio State, Adam Stewart, I've worked with him for years, on and off throughout the league. He's been a savior to me, but he got me right. And I went out and I had a workout with the Giants probably end of August, almost September. We were the week before the opening day of the opening week of the season, and absolutely killed the workout. I was just, me by myself with all the coaches were watching, the front office was there, the scouting department, and all the trainers. There were probably 30, 40 guys just all standing there watching me work out. But I loved it, and I ran really well, and it was like he looks fine. Yeah. And I, again, thank Adam Stewart for getting me right, but he'd be somebody you should have on. I'll talk to him. But so I passed my physical. I think we're good with the contract we already agreed on, and then basically they called me and were like, we're not giving you that contract. And I'm like, it was a full-blown agreement. We signed papers and stuff. Like, I could have pursued that. We talked about it. It was a stressful moment for me, and I don't get stressed very much, but that was kind of, what should I do? Should I just go to another team and sign a minimum, veteran deal? Or, should I take this deal? Plus I get they basically cut my contract in 3/5 of what it should have been. Yeah. And, a little more than half, but like, it's huge to me. We're not making $20 million contracts. Even that would be huge. Right. So there was a point where I was like, I will absolutely not be going back to the New York Giants. Like, it's just, there's no way. We're too far gone. They've, basically pulled out of something we agreed on. It was very hostile, but we got to a point where, I was like, look, I can get it guaranteed. There's not a better option out there. They've screwed me, no doubt, but I want to play one more football season. Yeah. Let's just get it done. It's in a place I'm familiar with. I know the coaches, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up taking it. I go out first week, week of the first game of the season. Literally my first practice was Wednesday. And I hadn't played football since the previous season. Practice on Wednesday, but, I don't want to say it's like riding a bike, but it was like riding a bike. And he went back in, killed it, played well for a couple games, and then my right leg started to bother me. And, I'm like, just what I had been through to this point, I finally got my left leg good, and then my right leg is starting to go on me. And, the people I had reached their neck out for me, like Joe Judge, to get me there, even with all the turmoil with the leg and the injury and, the stress with the contract, that to then finally get there, and now my right leg is falling apart. Like, what do you say? Like, hey, I know we were all worried about my left leg, but that's fine. But now my right leg's screwed. But like, it was screwed. And I grinded that out for about half the season. I think I played 7, 8 games, something like that, about half the season. But, through that, I think after the third game, I got a PRP shot in my quad tendon because it was starting to show a tear in the quad tendon on the right side. Exact same thing that was happening on the left. Just that cartilage underneath the kneecap has just gotten so bad that I'm trying to put it somewhere else, right? So the quad tendon on the right's messed up. I get PRP shot in the quad tendon. I mean, side note, that's top 3 all-time most painful things. Yeah, I've done PRP.
The actual shot?
Yeah. I've done PRP multiple times. It hurts. They don't numb you, but it's like one of those things you can kind of grate your teeth and, it's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, this had me, I was hoed up a little bit, and I don't usually get like that. And I think it was already so inflamed.
Yeah.
And then they're sticking a needle in something that should be dense, and then they're driving fluid into it, which is stretching even more. I remember that just making my eyes open up.
Made you feel alive, yeah.
Yeah, in the worst way possible.
No, dude, my worst shot was a PRP shot to the big toe. I got it in hamstrings before, shoulders, etc. But the toe just destroyed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you feel soft ass.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was bad. But grinded it out. Obviously the quad tendon was torn to shit. Got a follow-up MRI. They're telling me, it looks okay, it looks thick, but your cartilage underneath. Well, so I got Achilles tendonitis really bad, and I played 2 or 3 games with it. And then after my 8th game or whatever, or 7th game, whatever it was, I couldn't even walk to my car, up the steps. My Achilles hurt so bad, and I knew the only reason my Achilles hurt is because I'm just trying to grab the ground to just keep it off my knee.
Yeah,
and just ultimately my knee had just deteriorated. Quad tendon's torn, I can't walk with Achilles, and got an MRI. They're like, yeah, your cartilage looks worse under there than it did previously, and all these things happening, this stress with the contracts, to get out there and then have the right leg go like that, to I had to have a conversation with Joe Judge. I had to go in and be like, look, dude, you've seen me for 10 years. I've played with herniated disc, 5 days before a game. I've played with every pulled muscle. I've had casts on my hands. 7 months off an ACL. I've done a lot, right?
Yeah.
I usually it's taking a lot for me to come to you and say I cannot physically do this anymore. I'm gonna blow my knee out. It's a matter of time. And it just hurts every rep. Just all the way back to the rehab and Carlsbad and just every rep going through that grind. And trying to create force. It was just. That wore me out mentally. I mean, it was just a scratch on the inside of my skull. Just every time I wanted to be forceful, it just wouldn't go away. And so anyways, had to have that really hard conversation. And then they wouldn't put me on IR. The GMs kind of refused to put me on IR, as if I was we'll just give him a couple weeks and he'll come back. And I'm like, the Achilles tendonitis might go away. The cartilage under my knee ain't going away.
You're not listening.
You're not listening. And I have not come to you in 10 years and told you
I can't go.
I can't go. I'm telling you, because it should mean something, because I never have done this. But whatever. But that stressed me out. I'm sitting here thinking about that pain and enduring that, and what I've already gone through to this point, and having to have that conversation with Joe, and then being like, man, they're gonna make me go back out there. No, I'm not gonna. They can't make me. But the warrior in you is like, it feels all right today. Maybe you could do it. And the amount of anti-inflammatories I was taking the strongest stuff that they could give me dosage wise. Then I would take a leave before practice, and it's I was at a point where I wasn't even practicing during the week. I'd play in the game. I couldn't walk for 2 days afterwards. I wouldn't practice at all. Like I said, strongest anti-inflammatories is what are we doing?
Yeah.
You can't do it. Body can't take it.
Yeah.
So
you're killing the organism.
But it was this mental just arm wrestle with myself, trying to be okay with it, and stand my ground and just be like, no, I won't play. It's just the soldier in me that's they want me to go, I gotta go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was hard for me to say I
wrestle
can't.
with, yeah.
I can't do it, and I never wanted to say I can't. So just stressed out with that. But eventually, with 4 games left in the season, they got the point I couldn't play. It wasn't coming back. They put me on IR. So now it was the picture of I got to get my knees fixed. These things are fucked. And it's there's this new MACI surgery for cartilage repair, which we can talk about.
Yeah.
But essentially, they have to do a surgery before the surgery to get cells out of your cartilage, which we can talk about because it's fucking awesome. And it's going to be the gold standard for cartilage repair going forward, I have no doubt. But I had that surgery, double scope both knees. I come back to New York, and like a week later, 5 days later, I get Bell's palsy.
Yeah, crazy.
And
for those listening, Bell's palsy's like, I don't know they don't really know what the root cause of it. Like obviously it's stress or something.
Rare.
Yeah, but like you basically lose control of your face. It's like kind of what happens when you have a stroke.
Basically your facial nerve
Yep.
Gets inflamed somewhere in your brain, and you just completely lose function of one side of your face. And I woke up in the morning and I'm like, I was having trouble blinking. I was like, man, I must be tired, right? And, Chelsea was like, you can't, can you chew with your mouth shut, please? And I was like, I didn't realize I was affecting you so bad. And then I started thinking about what I was eating, and like I could not keep the food. I couldn't chew and keep food in my mouth. Like my lips were just not working. I didn't think too much about it. I started driving to the facility, and I was moving myself around. I looked in the mirror and I was blinking, and my eye just wasn't blinking. And I was trying to move my face. And I was like, my face isn't moving. And I started to I got a little nervous. I thought I was having a stroke or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Didn't know any different. Yeah.
But then I was like, look, you're breathing fine. You're cognitively aware. Like something's clearly fucked up here, but like you're okay. So I drove in. I went to the trainer. I was like, hey, bro, like, I need to talk to you. Like, look at this. They sent me to the emergency room, blah, blah, blah. Bell's palsy. They don't know. It's pretty rare. Like 20,000 cases and 300 million people in the U.S. They don't know. They think it could be virus related, but I was never sick. I think it was stress.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, I don't know. I mean, doctors said we associate it with stress. It happens with pregnant women a lot. Most stressful time in their life. It happens, they think there's some link to some virus, but ultimately they don't know. My take on it was that was the most stress I've been in my life, through the quad tendonitis at the end of the season, through the Olympics, through the contract getting messed up, through the right leg, through the conversation with the coach, through having to have surgery, the non-IR, like I was wearing it, not to mention like living in New York and all that stuff. So I was stressed. This happens. Get Bell's palsy, have to take my eyes shut at night. Like literally my eye just would not.
Yeah, that's
shut.
crazy. Yeah.
It was insane. But it could be worse.
Yeah.
I could have lost. Like, it could be worse. That's all I just kept telling myself, take my eyes shut at night. I'll be fine. And it's come back. I'd say like 90% right now, but, dude. So then I get the Bell's palsy. We got like a week left in the season, and I'm like, I'm stressed, body's messed up, Bell's palsy. I was like, I got to go home and take care of this. I left a week early from the season, a terrible season with the Giants. I mean, 4 wins, I think. It was just tough to be around, just tough to be a part of,
Yeah, for sure.
I've been fortunate enough to be on teams where we win all the time. So that was a different experience. But, then I go and I just got the first MACI surgery on my right leg. I need to do it on my left later, but I did the first MACI surgery on my right leg after they extracted the cells, first or second week of December. I think it was first week of December. They take the cells out. I'll go right into
break
that
it down.
surgery.
Yeah.
So basically, with what I had was articular cartilage defects. Which is the cartilage that covers the surface of the bone. A lot of people think about cartilage and they go straight to meniscus. Yeah. Which meniscus is cartilage, but it's a different type, and it's basically padding that your weight-bearing bones sit on, your condyles sit on your tibia. And those are important cartilages, but the real cartilage that matters is the cartilage covering the surface. That's what makes your bone glide smoothly. The friction coefficient of your articular cartilage is like 30 times smoother than ice.
Yikes. And
that's just, what a cool thing. Yeah, totally different conversation. Yeah. The body
is incredible.
I mean, 30 times smoother, less frictionless than ice. And ice is
slick.
Ice is slick. I just thought that was cool. But like, that's the cartilage that matters. So when you hear about people having meniscus surgeries, yeah, they can cut some of that out, but it's meniscus. The ultimate stuff underneath that covers the bone, and then once that's messed up, the bone's exposed. That's called articular cartilage, and that there's not a lot of answers for. In the past, it's been microfracture surgery. You know, they dig it out and they start poking holes in the bone and try to get it to bleed and maybe regrow. Very unsuccessful.
Yeah,
40%,
no, they did that in my ankle, and I still have the.
It's
whatever.
not a good. It was the best option.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of options. People couldn't really regrow the cartilage, at least get it to grow where it needed to grow, right? Like they can get it to grow, but to get it to grow right where it needs to, and the smooth.
Different story, yeah.
Yeah. So then there's this other surgery called an Aci surgery, which they basically take the cells out, they grow them in a solution. I could be a little wrong on this, but the broad understanding that I have is that they grow it and they put it in a solution and they just kind of inject it in the knee and they hope that it goes where it needs to. And it's fairly successful, but ultimately your knee capsule is huge and fluid's in it already, synovial fluid, and
who knows
you've
how
got
much
blood.
stays,
It's just, again, not super successful. Between those two options, you're looking at anywhere between really 45% success rate at best. I mean, everyone I know that's had microfracture surgery, I've never heard someone say, I had microfracture surgery and I feel great. I've never heard that. So then there's this surgery, right? It's called an MACI. Same concept. They take your cells out, but instead of putting them in a solution, they actually grow them like in a petri dish in a lab for 6 weeks. Then they grow them on it's got to be some type of biodegradable sheet, if you will, and then they clean out your pothole of cartilage, and then they put those cells on that sheet perfectly into that pothole you have, and they stitch it into your cartilage, and now it's stuck in place. And one other cartilage surgery they would do is called an Aci surgery, where it's a bone plug. You've got a hole on this part of your knee. They take a cartilage plug, like, when you aerate your grass and those plugs come out, you got the soil and then you got the little bit of grass. It's like one of those. They take that out. It's got the nice cartilage from an area that doesn't rub on anything, and they stick it in to that. But it has to be a perfect circle. It has to match. Yeah. You can't do it in the trochlea and that's where my pain is, under the kneecap, because there's that curvature. It's very hard to do. And again, that's actually the most successful, I think, of 50 to 60% success rate with the oats. But again, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking out good cartilage from one location and putting it in another. Eventually you'll get arthritic in that other area. So anyways, so they take it out. So I had this surgery, they stitch it in, and I had 3 defects. I had one under the trochlea, a huge one under the knee. You want to see how big that is? I showed it to you.
Yeah, you showed the triangle, the cutout triangle.
So this should basically be all clear white. I don't know if you want to show your camera. That's disgusting. I
don't know if it
but shows. It should just be pure white, and that's the hole that's my kneecap would sit right on. And so basically they stitched a big thing in there. But not only did I have that defect, I had a defect on my lateral condyle, which is a weight-bearing surface, and then I had one, like a hole on my tibia, my tibial plateau, if you will, and they had to actually lift my meniscus to fill that. So, and then I told the doctor while he was in there, I said, well, hey, will you look at my quad tendon while you're in there, because it hurts.
Yeah.
And he goes in there, and I come out of surgery, and he's like, yeah, your surgery took an extra 2 hours because your quad tendon, the middle third of your quad tendon was completely lifted. It's frayed off completely. And he's like, I have no doubt in my mind, had you continued to play, you were asking for a rupture. Like, the middle third was completely off. So they stitched that quad tendon all back together. They dig a hole in the back of the kneecap to put it in, and then they actually drilled 2 holes through the kneecap, and they run a wire from the stitching of putting the quad tendon back together through the kneecap to pull it in tight.
Yikes.
And so the quad tendon I had on the left leg, that was in the middle of the quad tendon, so they just stitched it up stitched it together. But this, it was on the attachment site, so they just reattach it basically.
That's crazy.
So yeah, a lot was done. And then on top of that, they did a lateral release of soft tissue of the tissue on my outside. He said, it should be, elastic, and your stuff is hard as a rock. It's scarred over and blah, blah, blah. It looked bad. So a lot was done to the knee. I'm 8 weeks out now. I just got off crutches. He had me on crutches for 8 weeks. I was rocking a cane there for a little bit. But I can already say I'm 8 weeks out of that surgery, and I can walk around. I mean, you see me walk around. I'm ginger, but like that's my own just precautionary steps that I'm taking. But at the end of the day, I can put weight on it. I can bend it. It already feels better under the kneecap than my left one does right now. And
let's go. I'm
8 weeks out, and 2 months from now, I should be feeling pretty good. And then at that point, I'll probably put the left knee on the books. But the left knee is going to be a lot easier. I have the one defect under the kneecap.
Yeah, it'll be.
I don't have a quad tendon repair it, hopefully, again. So that should
25% of the work.
Yeah, he said, I'll be on crutches for 1 to 2 weeks, and in a brace, it's not going to be 8 weeks on crutches. I mean, that 8 weeks on crutches, man. We just talked about the beginning of this podcast about finding yourself and not being physically capable to move. Like those 8 weeks were tough. You know, trying to make a sandwich.
Yeah, it became a chore.
You're crutching. You got to get the plate, and then I forgot something in the fridge, and it just, I indulged, but it wasn't fun. I'll just say that. It could have been worse.
Yeah, no doubt.
Could have been worse. I could have been in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And
could have had to have you come over and spoon feed me. So I survived. And but yeah, if you want to talk about that surgery, I think it's
just there's a lot of things I want to get out of that year. Obviously, one, just the year in itself. Two, the surgery. Surgery is massive, and I think it should, people need to learn about it. It's obviously not one of the main things they're presenting to people with cartilage issues right now, because I had never heard of it until you brought it to me.
Yeah, it's only 2 or 3 years FDA approved.
Okay.
It's super new. They've been doing it overseas, but I was going to do it with the team doctor at the Giants, but I asked him, how many of these have you done? He said 40.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that doesn't seem like very many, then he's like, it's just new. No one's really done it. And then I found the specialist in Florida, West Palm Beach, Tom Minus. He's done about 1,000 of them.
Nice.
And I said, that's substantially more reps.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with you.
Reps. Yeah.
And so, I'm very lucky that I have the circle of people that help me find something like that, because the state my knee, especially the right one, was in, it was unfunctional. But before I had surgery, I couldn't do anything in the weight room. I couldn't walking up and down. It was completely unfunctional. It was to the point where it's like we were having conversations about a knee replacement.
Yeah, crazy.
And I'm grateful. I'm blessed that I have this circle. I'm blessed that this surgery was where it is now. And like I mentioned briefly, it will be the gold standard. I mean, it's an over 80% success rate. I've seen some post-op pictures 9 months to a year. I mean, it looks like a cavity filling. Your tooth is a little yellow because it's been weathered for years. They put that new clear surface in, it matches right with it, but it's just a different color because it's brand new. Yeah. I mean, it looks just like that.
That's tight.
And now it hardens up, and I keep telling the doc, when can I get back out on the rugby field or something? He's like, I knew you'd keep asking me that. Yeah,
which you continually will. But but yeah, then the other part of that I wanted to get out there was one, it's I'm not speaking any self-pity, but there is a dark side to the injuries that come with playing professional sports that aren't accounted for, because we'll look at a guy on the field and say, oh, he's X, Y, and Z, or criticize his performance or anything like that, but you don't understand what people and athletes are going through to put this product on the field. Because a lot of my teammates have been through microfracture surgeries, different joint knee replacements, all these shots, all these things. I wanted people to hear the story, and then you look at the commodity that athletes become, where again, we weren't the ones getting paid $20 million, but we're doing a lot of blue collar fucking work that also led the team on special teams or whatever, however you want to look at it. But you're a veteran that had been in the league 9 years, particularly for one coach too, and those kind of things, and to come in and have this agreement, have all these things, and still be, I don't want to say force fed this deal because of your commitment, passion. It truly is a what have you done for me lately league. And
not even that. To me, it's what's your leverage, what's ours.
Yeah, it's a business.
You don't have any.
Yeah.
And all those things are true. You're a leader. I was a captain.
Yeah.
You leader, whatever you want to say about me, it ain't leverage in the business room. And unfortunately, I think in New England, I tore my ACL on a contract year, and they paid me well after that. And that was awesome. Yeah. Never thought that would happen, but that was a rare situation. I got the other side of that this past year. And again, I go back to, I'm grateful that didn't happen to me majority of my career. Yeah. Majority of my career, I played in the same spots. And, I went there. I had one experience that was bad. I've never been cut from a team. I've played 10 years. Like, I have a lot. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, but I just wanted to pick that side of the sport and not but it's just like, because obviously you handled it very well, but it still is part of the game.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah,
but to sit there and think like I'm exempt from that. Yeah. It is absolutely part of the game, and then more people go through that than don't go through that. You know, we see all the Twitter feed of, Bleacher Report saying how millions these few guys are, the top 20 players in the league are making, but the rest of us, the majority of the people aren't like that. They go through hell, and
we have we don't have a lot of leverage to keep it.
Relative to that hell, I've been pretty good. I've been lucky with it. That this last year was the least amount of games I played, and it was all due to health, and I played 8 games. I played half of a season. Like, other than the ACL year where I played like 12 or 13 games, I played every game. I know people that struggle just to get on the active roster. It just, they're on 3 teams in a year. Again, I'm going back to what I'm grateful for. I don't like to sit and just feel sorry for myself, but it wasn't a good situation.
Yeah, but and you handle it with the elite mindset that you bring into everything. But like, I just wanted to get that. Yeah, absolutely. The story, and then obviously like the stitchings of how you handle it too, like, are just I think are good for people to hear. But got to rip off now. Like, obviously, I'm gonna go do this concealed carry.
Never mind. You got to do. I know. You're super.
Yeah, we're good. We'll edit it out. But dude, I appreciate your time. You know the deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're the fucking man.
I'll do this whenever.
Easy, my guy.
We can make it a weekly thing if you need.
Boom.
All right, bro.